Baseball family, welcome to this Thursday night live episode of the Baseball Together podcast. I'm off to a fantastic start. It's just me tonight, flying solo. So we're gonna try to get through this. Like I said, off to a fantastic start. Maybe I need to take a drink and start this over. Okay, let's do this. Okay, here we go. Again, Thursday Night Live. Thank you for joining me. Very excited. This should be a good time. Before we get into too much, there's a few things that I want to talk about tonight. But before we get into that, I want to remind you about Chinook Seeds. Head over to ChinookSeedery.com while you're here on the internet and get yourself the best seeds ever. If you don't believe me, it says so right on the package right here. You can head to ChinookSeedery.com and use code BTPOD at checkout to save 10% off your order. Support your mouth, support your wallet, and support the show all at the same time. I have a pack here of Parmesan and pepper. Brig rants and raves about this stuff all the time. These are fantastic seeds. That's his favorite flavor. I am an equal opportunist across the board. I will be eating those later. Very excited about them. So again, ChinookSeedery.com, BTPod at checkout. Save 10% off your order. All right, let's get into things because there are some fascinating things to talk about tonight. First things first, Rob Manfred has said the MLB is going to propose the ABS system for 2026. This is the challenge system. If you didn't tune in on Tuesday, and for those of you who did, you know that this is a little weird, right? Because I talked about this on this week's Big Show about how Bob Nightingale said that it wouldn't happen in 2026, that there were player concerns about the challenge system, about how things worked and stuff like that. However, Evan Drellich of The Athletic reported that Rob Manfred said feedback was positive, which is what we all thought, right? Like, that's what we all thought coming out of spring training, that everybody loved the ABS system, that everybody thought it was great, that you can hold the umpires accountable to a certain level, but also it kind of helps to, like, check the zone, right? Like, hey, I thought that was off the plate. Let's check that. No? Okay. All right, now I know. Ball right there. When that sweeper comes across right there, that's on the plate. Now I know. I'll swing next time. Welcome, Twitch Taylor. Glad to see you here. For those of you who don't know, we don't know this person on Twitch, but there's always one person joining us on Twitch, and so we call you Twitch Taylor. Welcome. Anyway, back to the ABS system. And so one thing that Rob Manfred did with this whole thing is he's flexing MLB's ability to implement rule changes with 45-day notice. This is a point from the current CBA, this last CBA when we had the work stoppage, everything, we had to wait, didn't get spring training and everything. That's something new for this CBA. And so they're kind of flexing that on this and being like, look, we can implement this rule if we really want to, and we have 45 days to do it. And also, the league says it has the votes that it needs on the 11-person committee to make it happen. That said, I really hope it does. I would be so happy if this came through and we got it in 2026. And I think a lot of people are. If you don't want the ball strike challenge system, drop it down in the chat, let me know, because I am curious, and I want to know why as well, because I think this is, like I said, a great way to hold the umpires accountable, and also for players and for pitchers, catchers, batters, and even the umpire to check the zone and be like, yeah, okay, that's in, or that's out, that's off, right? So I think it's fantastic. I think it will make baseball better. It'll make the hitters, the pitchers, catchers, everybody better, and I understand the argument for catchers framing and everything like that, right? I was a catcher, and so I totally understand that. A lot of people don't know why I would want the automatic strike zone, but I think part of that is because I had to deal with umpires a lot who, despite a ball being right down the middle, would still call a ball just because they're like, whatever. I don't know. But anyway, it happens. We see it happen all the time. If you don't follow them, go over to X and follow umpire scorecards. There's umpire auditor. You can see how these umpires are doing. Overall, we did see, and we talked about this a few weeks ago. Umpires are doing better this year than they have probably over the last decade, right? And some of that has to do with the smaller buffer zone. I think that maybe they figure they have less margin of error, something like that. I don't know. But umpires are more accurate this year than they have been in quite a while. But I think that this would help to make them even more accurate and make the game better. So I think it's great. Rob Manfred, go ahead, flex flex that 45-day notice if you want to. Go right on ahead. All right. Have you guys been watching the Rockies? Anybody watching the Rockies these days? No? Okay, that's fine. You don't need to. But they swept a series. They swept a series for the first time since May of 2024. First, they've won the first two games of the series, and it was like, oh my gosh, they won a series. It's like the first one since last August, August of 2024. And then they went and they finished off the Marlins and swept the series, and it's like, is the world gonna end? Is I don't know what's gonna happen, but it seems like something's going on that's pretty wild, and it was pretty good for them, right? Good for their fans. Have something to cheer about. Um, but so there's some really interesting stuff coming out of Colorado these days. Though. So this is a left-handed pitcher, Austin Gomber. I'm probably saying that wrong. I apologize. But he told ESPN's Jesse Rogers the start of the year was tough. If we're being honest about it, we weren't very competitive since interim manager Warren Schaefer has taken over. We're pretty much in every game, but it's not going our way. It's easier to keep the attitude positive. I know we're competing every night. At the beginning of the year, that wasn't the case. Basically saying the mood, the tone of everything has turned around since Bud Black was fired. So I don't know. Man, it seemed he must have just lost the clubhouse or something. I don't know, but it seems like the vibes are up. Probably not where they really wanted to be, but morale has improved in Colorado, right? Though I will say this. Actually, no, before I move on, um, I just read some quotes from other players, and it feels like they're turning a corner, and they're not going to be 9 wins in April and May bad for the entire year, right? Maybe not. However, this was the Marlins. This was the Marlins that they beat. This is the team whose general manager in May last year said, "We're not making the playoffs. We might as well trade Luis Ariz." Right? Same team that just does not seem to care one little bit about what it takes to win in Major League Baseball. And yeah, I don't know. They say they're going to revolutionize the way people look at analytics and the way teams are built and things like that. Um, I don't see it. I don't see it happening. So maybe let's pump the brakes a little bit on the Rockies with this sweep. It's a step in the right direction, that's for sure, because it's tough to beat anybody 3 times in a row, right? Much less in a 3-day period. But I don't think this is the turning point that keeps them from losing 121 games. But here we are. But hey, take the W, Rockies fans. Take the win. Take the sweep. Celebrate it while it lasts. Because who do you have this weekend? Who are the Rockies playing coming up? That's not necessarily one that I'm gonna. It's not on my to watch list because the Rockies probably will not make my to watch list all year, unless it just gets to the point where I just want to watch somebody blow somebody out. They're playing the Mets, so good luck this weekend, Colorado. All right, we got one more thing before we get into other stuff here. This is really interesting. Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner of the White Sox, has been talking somewhat over the last couple of years about possibly maybe selling the team, right? The White Sox want a new stadium in Chicago. Um, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but this is one of the things that's floating around out there, right? However, Jerry Reinsdorf has reached a long-term investment agreement with Justin Ishbia. If you know the last name Ishbia, it might sound familiar to some sports fans out there. Justin Ishbia is part owner of the Phoenix Suns and Phoenix Mercury. I should be able to say that better. I live there. Anyway, he's a part owner of the Phoenix Suns and Phoenix Mercury with his brother and the majority owner, Matt Ishbia. May have been where you've heard the name. He's also a minority owner of the MLS team Nashville SC. Uh, and so this is really interesting the way this is going to work. Justin Ishbia is going to be a limited partner in 2025 and 2026 by, quote, infusing capital into the business to help pay off existing debts. So I wonder if that to me feels like Jerry Reinsdorf was like, yeah, I'll let you pay the team, I'll let you buy the team, but you got to cover my debts first. What? It's so odd. And I don't know if that's how it works. Like it doesn't seem like that's how it works. That you have somebody pay off your debts for a couple years and then sell the team because I don't think that's how buying a house works. I've never heard of that before. But anyway, kind of funny that that's going to be his role over the next couple years is pay off debts and then buy the team. I'm curious what that's going to all end up being in the end, or if that's like almost like a deposit or a down payment on the team, right? And that just happens to be what they're using it for is paying off debts. I don't know. The phrasing is odd. The whole thing seems really weird because there's more to this. Jerry Reinsdorf can sell the team to Justin Ishbia between 2029 and 2023 or 2033. So between 4 and 8 years from now, but not before then. Jerry Reinsdorf is 89 years old. And he wants to wait anywhere between 4 and 8 years to sell this team. So anytime between he's 93 and 97. What? He may not be around in 2029, much less 2033. Like, so weird. Um, but it looks like Matt Ishbia and their father Jeff will also be significant investors going in on this. Sounds like they're White Sox fans and they just kind of want to buy their team. They were in, I believe, on the Twins a while ago initially, but that fell through, didn't happen. So here they are. They're going to buy the White Sox. And I've seen a little bit of speculation because there's been talk about the White Sox relocating, especially if they don't get the stadium deal that they want. There's been talk about the White Sox relocating, and the fact that Justin Ishbia is a minority owner with Nashville SC could be prime pickings for moving the White Sox to Nashville. Something to keep an eye on. I don't know that it'll happen. I don't think that it should happen. The White Sox belong in Chicago. We need two teams in Chicago. Need the north side and the south side, right? Like that's just I hate saying this. Oh man, I hate saying this, but that's the way it's been in baseball. For more than 100 years, we need the north side, the south side. The Chicago White Sox belong there. Um, I don't think you can move that team. They're a fixture, right? They are a fixture on the south side of Chicago. So anyway, um, but so something interesting is Jerry Reinsdorf bought the team in 1981 for $19 million. Talk about your return on investment, because he's going to get a couple bill, and that's going to be crazy. All right, before we move on, I just want to remind you, baseball family, about Patreon. Thank you so much for joining me, by the way, on this live. Um, Flying Solo Brig is out. He's doing school stuff. But I do want to remind you about Patreon. Don't forget to check it out. There's a link down in the description of every episode, or you can head to patreon.com and search Baseball Together. We have 5 tiers of support from $1 up to $500 of monthly support for the show. Everybody gets different perks and things, and one of them is an extra episode every month, so you can. It's just me and Brig kind of having a baseball conversation. It's a little more laid back, us talking to each other, not quite as much to the listener, but yeah, you get kind of a peek behind the curtain of some of the conversation that we have in prepping because it's kind of along those lines. Um, but you also get like t-shirts, hats, stickers, and stuff like that. So go check it out, and if you want to support, you can join one of those 5 tiers. All right, let's get into the national TV schedule for the weekend. These times, by the way, are Eastern time. Friday, your MLB TV free game of the day is the Astros at the Pirates at 6:40 p.m. And then your Apple TV games, you've got the Diamondbacks at the Reds at 7:10 p.m. and then the Cubs at the Tigers at 7:10 p.m. I think those are some interesting games. Very interesting, especially that Cubs and Tigers game. That's a little teaser. Saturday, MLB TV free game of the day is the Braves at the Giants at 10:15 p.m. Again, Eastern time. There is no game on FS1 this weekend. However, Fox is at 7:35. Check your local listings. You're either going to get the Red Sox at the Yankees, or you're going to get the Padres at the Brewers. I think we know what most of the country will be getting as far as those matchups go. Sunday, MLB TV free game of the day is the Dodgers at the Cardinals at 2:15 p.m. Your Roku game is the Cardinals at the Rangers at 1:05 p.m. And ESPN, because wouldn't you know it, they're playing this weekend, so absolutely they're going to be on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. The Red Sox and the Yankees at 7:10 p.m. because that is the only series that channel cares about. Series to watch this weekend is brought to you by SeatGeek. If we were going to games this weekend, these are the games we would go to, and we would get there using SeatGeek to get our tickets. You can too by heading to SeatGeek.com and using code BaseballTogether to save $20 on your first order. That's BaseballTogether, one word, at SeatGeek.com to get your tickets to the biggest games this weekend and anytime. SeatGeek is the official ticket marketplace of MLB. So my series to watch, I've got the Mariners, the Angels, obviously. The Mariners are kind of in the middle of it right now. Had a terrible, terrible homestand. Dropped 2 out of 3 to the Nats. Managed to get 2 out of 3 from the Twins, but they were not pretty. They very easily could have gone the other way. And then got swept by the Orioles. They do not play the Orioles well in Seattle, in Baltimore, doesn't matter. My Mariners do not play the Orioles well ever for some reason. And brutal. That last game of that series was today, and I've kind of been in the middle of it because not real happy about the way things are going in Seattle right now. Also, I'll be paying attention to the Astros and Cleveland's baseball club for 2 reasons. This is a really interesting series between a couple of pretty good teams that I think are going to be in the mix at the very least, if not leading their divisions at the end of the season. Actually, no, Cleveland's not going to be leading their division. Let's be honest. They're not going to overtake Detroit. But they'll be in the mix for the wild card for sure. The Astros very well could run away with the division here in the next month. Could start. Because and I hate this, I hate saying this, but the Astros over the last several years, almost decade, right? It's been almost a decade, has not given us any reason to not believe in them. We keep thinking, oh, this is the year. This is the year. A couple weeks into the season, this is the one. Houston's done, right? No, they're not. They just keep making it happen. And so I think they've officially reached the point where you have to count them in. You have to include them in everything until game 162 has been played or they've been mathematically eliminated in September. Like they're always in it. They always are. But speaking of Detroit, brief mention, the Cubs at the Tigers. So interesting. 2 teams on top of their divisions have been absolute powerhouses so far this year. The Cubs have some pitching issues. We'll see what happens. The Tigers can pitch. The Tigers can hit. They're the best team in the American League by far. And yeah, I am fascinated by this series to see what the Tigers do against the Cubs. Brig, same 2 series, Astros and Cleveland, and the Cubs and the Tigers. But also he'll be watching, obviously, as a Yankees fan, he'll be watching the Red Sox at the Yankees. All right, last thing I have before I'm going to get out of here today in baseball history. June the 5th, 1997, Seattle shortstop Alex Rodriguez becomes the second Mariners player ever to hit for the cycle. Rodriguez hit his triple in the 8th, then turned around and hit a double in the 9th in a 14-6 win in Detroit. As a Mariners fan, those Alex Rodriguez years were great. Absolutely great. Until his last one. At the end, it was like, he's leaving, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. and we just kind of have to accept it. But I was a huge A-Rod fan when he was in Seattle, big time, until he, of course, went to Texas. And then it became anytime I would go home or anytime we would go to games when A-Rod was in town, whether he was with the Rangers or the Yankees, it was always, hey, should we go boo A-Rod? Like, yeah, let's go boo A-Rod. But anywho, baseball family, one more thing. Talked about Seed Sack. If you need somewhere to keep your seeds, head over, or sorry, I talked about Chinook Seedery. Again, BT Pod, save 10%. If you need somewhere to keep your seeds, head to SeedSack, seed-sack.com. There's a link down in the description. You can use code baseball, the number 2 together, baseball 2 together, and save 5% off of a seed sack. I have one, my son has one, and they're pretty fantastic. They are a great way to keep track of your seeds, keep them fresh. That way they're not spilling all over the place and falling out of your pocket, whatever they connect with. They're perfectly in your back pocket. For baseball pants. They're designed to go in the back pocket of baseball pants. And one of these pouches fits perfectly in it. Again, that's seed-sack.com. Baseball 2 together. Save 5%. Baseball family, like, subscribe, rate, and review everywhere that you can. If you have not already on YouTube, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that like button to help the show out. The baseball family, thank you again so much for joining me. Brig is going to be back